Hello, everyone. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that little bit of worry, that touch of uncertainty, when you're walking on an unfamiliar surface, or maybe rushing to answer the phone? That feeling is perfectly normal. But the frightening truth is, a fall often happens in those seemingly harmless moments. And for those of us over 60, a fall isn't just a bruise or a scare. It can be the start, the very beginning, of losing that precious independence we've worked our entire lives to maintain. It's the quiet fear that a simple misstep could change everything. But as someone who has spent over 30 years caring for patients in their golden years, I can tell you this. The very thing that truly protects you from the most dangerous falls. It isn't walking more slowly, or constantly grabbing onto furniture for support. It's the small, almost unconscious habits your body performs every single day. I'll never forget the case of Robert, a 78-year-old patient of mine. He nearly fell in his own kitchen, simply because the floor was a little slick after being cleaned. It wasn't because he was careless. It was because his brain and his body didn't have time to talk to each other about that sudden change underfoot. That single moment. It filled him with a fear of walking confidently in his own home. So in this video today, we aren't going to talk about complicated exercises. Instead, we're going to walk through 7 simple walking habits that I've taught to hundreds of patients just like Robert. They cost nothing, you can practice them immediately, and they help rewire that connection between your brain and your body to keep you safe. Everything I'm about to share is based on the foundational principles of geriatric physical therapy and on real-world experience. And please, be sure to watch all the way through to the end, because the final habit number 7, is the one most people overlook. It has almost nothing to do with your legs, but it might be the most important key to holding onto your independence for years to come. The information in that final section could truly make all the difference. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of us have faced this. If what I just shared feels familiar, please comment a simple yes below. It shows me you understand, and it shows others they are not alone. Okay, let's get started. Alright, let's get into our very first habit. Habit number 1. Head position awareness. Of all the things I see in my practice, perhaps the most common and the most dangerous habit is walking with your head pointed down at the floor. It seems so simple, almost too simple to matter. But I need you to understand this. Your head is the steering wheel for your entire body. You see, your head is surprisingly heavy. It weighs about 10 or 11 pounds, roughly the weight of a bowling ball. When you let that weight hang forward, day after day, it pulls your entire center of gravity forward with it. Your shoulders begin to round, your back starts to curve, and your body is constantly, quietly, fighting to keep from toppling over. Now, I understand completely why this happens. As we get older, maybe our eyesight isn't quite what it used to be, or our balance feels a little less certain. Our instinct, a very powerful instinct, is to look down to see where our feet are going. It feels safer. It feels like the responsible thing to do. We want to avoid that crack in the sidewalk or the edge of a rug. But here is the cruel irony I've seen play out time and time again. That very habit you adopt to prevent a fall actually becomes a leading cause of falling. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever felt a little wobbly on your feet for no good reason? Or do you get that nagging ache in your upper back and shoulders after you've been for a walk? More often than not, that isn't just a sign of getting older. It's the direct result of your body being pulled out of alignment, and it all starts with the position of your head. So, here is the simple adjustment I want you to start practicing. It's what we physical therapists call the 20-80 rule. It's very easy to remember. For 80% of the time you're walking, I want you to keep your gaze looking straight ahead, about 10 to 15 feet in front of you. Get a sense of the path ahead. And for just 20% of the time, you can glance down to check the ground right in front of you. And when you do, you glance down with your eyes, not with your whole head. Just a quick check with the eyes. This small change keeps your body upright, your balance centered, and your confidence high. It might feel a little strange at first, especially if looking down has been a habit for years. But I promise you, your body will thank you for it. Okay, let's move on to our second point. Habit number 2. Arm swing rhythm. Now, I want you to think about something you probably haven't considered in years. Your arms. When we think about walking, we focus entirely on our legs. But the truth is, your arms play a huge role in keeping you balanced and steady. Here's how it works. Your arms are your body's natural stabilizers, like built-in counterweights. Every time your right leg moves forward, your left arm should swing forward too. And the same goes for the other side. It's a perfect cross-body rhythm. This isn't something you had to learn in a class. It's a fundamental pattern your body figured out when you were just a toddler, and for decades, it's been helping you stay upright without you even noticing. But as we age, something happens to that natural swing. For many of my patients, I see it disappear. Sometimes, the reason is purely physical. A bit of arthritis or stiffness in the shoulders can make that free-swinging motion feel uncomfortable. That's understandable. More often, however, the root cause is something deeper. It's fear. When you're worried about falling, your body's instinct is to tense up. You brace yourself for impact, almost preparing for something bad to happen. And in that process, you unconsciously lock your arms to your sides, or you stuff your hands into your pockets for a false sense of security. You stop that natural rhythm dead in its tracks. Unfortunately, by trying to protect yourself, you're accidentally removing one of your body's best tools for stability. That stiffness makes it harder to balance, not easier. It makes your walk feel more rigid and less fluid. The wonderful news is that bringing this back doesn't require any strenuous effort. It just takes a little awareness. So, here is what I want you to do. As you walk, simply let your elbows bend softly. They shouldn't be locked or stiff. And then just allow your arms to swing naturally at your sides, even if it's just a little bit. You don't need big, dramatic movements like you're power walking in the park. Gentle, relaxed swings are more than enough to make a difference. So take a moment to think about your own habits. If you realize that you often walk with your hands in your pockets or your arms held still, I'd like you to leave a comment with the word rhythm below. It's a simple reminder for yourself to let your body find its natural, steadying beat again. Let's move on to the third essential habit for safe walking. Habit number 3. Heel-to-toe walking. Now, I want us to shift our focus all the way down to our feet, because how your foot actually touches the ground makes a world of difference for your balance and safety. Over the years, something very subtle happens to the way many of us walk. Without even realizing it, we can develop a habit of shuffling, where we place the whole foot down flat at once, instead of rolling through the step properly. Here's how walking is supposed to work, the way our bodies were designed. First, your heel makes gentle contact with the ground. Then, your weight rolls smoothly across the arch of your foot. And finally, your toes give a little push forward into the next step. That beautiful, fluid pattern. Heel, roll, toe. It acts like a built-in shock absorber. It protects your joints, it keeps your body aligned, and it allows your stride to stay smooth and steady. When you skip that pattern and start shuffling, your stride automatically shortens. Your leg muscles become less active. And this is the most important part. You are far more likely to catch your toe and trip over the very things that are most common in a home. Rugs, thresholds between rooms, or any slightly uneven ground. Have you ever felt your foot catch on a rug and it gives you a little jolt of panic? That is often the result of shuffling. The tricky part is that most people don't even notice when this change happens. It's not a decision you make. It becomes second nature, a quiet habit that creeps in over decades, often because it feels a little easier in the moment. But the good news is, you can absolutely retrain your body to use its natural motion again. Your body remembers. You just need to gently remind it. Here's a simple way to practice. Find a safe, open space in your home, like a hallway, and just begin to walk slowly across it. As you take each step, I want you to pay close attention to the feeling of your heel touching the floor first, then letting the rest of your foot roll forward. You don't have to exaggerate the movement. Just let it flow. At first, it might feel a little awkward. That's perfectly okay. A few minutes of this mindful practice each day can make your steps stronger, smoother, and much, much safer. Alright, let's move on to our fourth habit, and this is a big one. Habit number 4. Small steps, big safety. Now, let's talk about the size of your steps. This is something that often surprises my patients because it feels counterintuitive. When we were younger, taking long, confident strides felt natural, didn't it? It felt efficient, even powerful. But as we get older, that very same habit can quietly become a trap, working against our stability without us ever realizing it. Here's the simple science behind it. When you take a big step, your front foot reaches far out ahead of your body. For a split second, this actually shifts your center of gravity backwards. It leaves you in a slightly unstable position, putting more stress and strain on your hips and on your knees. If you ever feel that walking puts a bit of a dull ache on those joints, it might not just be age, it could be the length of your stride. That momentary imbalance is the real danger. It leaves you with less control if something unexpected happens, like a slippery spot on the floor or a sudden loss of balance. Your body simply doesn't have enough time to react and correct itself. Smaller steps, on the other hand, do the exact opposite. They are a game changer for stability. They help keep your body weight centered, right over your feet. The key is that your feet stay under you, where you are strongest and most stable. With shorter strides, your reaction time actually improves, meaning you can catch yourself faster if you do happen to trip or slip. You're also far more likely to lift your feet properly, which reduces the chance of dragging your toes on rugs or uneven sidewalks. So, here's the simple adjustment to practice. Just focus on taking slightly smaller, quicker steps. You might feel a bit funny at first, almost like you're taking baby steps, but I assure you, your body will quickly adjust to this new, safer rhythm. Remember, this isn't about walking slower or trying to cover less ground. It's about walking smarter. It's about safety and stability. We've arrived at our fifth habit, and this is one that often gets overlooked. Habit number 5. Core strength, core confidence. When most people think about balance, their minds immediately go to their legs and feet. We picture strong legs and steady feet as the foundation of our stability. But the truth is, true, lasting balance, it starts in the middle of your body. It starts in your core. The muscles in your stomach, your lower back, and your hips, they are like the foundation of a house. If that foundation is weak or unstable, everything built on top of it is going to feel shaky. It doesn't matter how strong the walls are if the foundation is crumbling. You might notice this in small ways throughout your day. Maybe you find yourself leaning on furniture a little more often just to feel secure. Or you feel a bit wobbly when you first stand up from a chair. Or perhaps you feel tired much more quickly after just a short walk. That isn't always a problem with your legs. More often than not, it's a sign that your core has quietly lost some of its strength over time. The most encouraging part about this is that you do not need a gym membership or any heavy equipment to build a stronger core. In fact, small, simple movements, done consistently, can make a world of difference. Let me give you a real-world example. I had a patient, a wonderful 82-year-old grandmother named Margaret. Her family brought her to see me because she had started falling more often around her house. They were worried, and so was she. But when I assessed her, I found that her leg strength was actually quite good for her age. The real problem? It was her weak core. So, I gave her just 2 tiny exercises to do. That's all. First, I told her to stand near a sturdy chair or kitchen counter and just lift 1 foot an inch off the floor for 5 seconds, then switch to the other foot. And second, I told her that while she was brushing her teeth or watching television, to gently pull her belly button in towards her spine. Just enough to feel it tighten. Within a few short weeks, Margaret noticed a remarkable change. She told me she felt steadier, more solid. Like her body was finally holding her up again. You can try the exact same thing. These little efforts build an invisible strength that shows up in your posture, in how steady your steps feel, and in how confident you are moving through your home. If you find Margaret's story inspiring, please take a moment to comment with the word strong below. It's a wonderful way to encourage each other. Alright, we are now at our 6th habit, and this one is about something that catches so many people completely by surprise. Habit number 6. Floor awareness and transitions. One of the sneakiest, and I mean truly sneakiest, causes of falls isn't the big, obvious clutter or the piece of furniture you can see from across the room. More often than not, it's the small, subtle, and sudden changes in the floor right beneath your feet. A transition from carpet to a glossy tile floor, a simple doorway threshold, or even a shadowy step can be enough to throw you off balance if you're not prepared. Now, why does this become such a critical issue as we get older? The science behind it is actually quite simple, yet profound. As we age, our depth perception and our reaction time, they both slow down just a little. That's a completely normal part of the process. But what it means is that your brain may take a moment longer, just a fraction of a second, to register a change underfoot. In that tiny, almost imperceptible delay between your eyes seeing the change and your body physically adjusting to it, your balance can falter. It's a gap in communication between your brain and your feet. And in that gap, a fall can happen. Let's go back to the story of Robert, the 78-year-old gentleman I mentioned at the beginning of our talk. He considered himself to be a very careful and steady man. The near fall he experienced happened in his own kitchen, a space he had walked through tens of thousands of times in his life. The floor had just been cleaned, and while it looked fine, it was just a little bit slippery. He told me later, and I'll never forget his words, he said, "It caught me completely by surprise. My feet were already moving before my brain realized the surface was slick." What he described is the perfect, real-world example of that brain-body delay. His eyes saw the floor, but the message didn't get to his feet in time for them to adjust their grip and pace. It wasn't a failure of his vision, and it wasn't a failure of his strength. It was a failure in processing speed. That incident, as you can imagine, shook his confidence. He became hesitant, even fearful, in his own home. But in talking with him, Robert developed a new habit. It sounded a little silly at first, he admitted, but he swore it made all the difference. Every single time he walked from one room to another, he would quietly say out loud what kind of floor he was about to step on. Walking from the living room, he'd say to himself, "Carpet." Approaching the kitchen, "Tile." Stepping onto the porch, "Wood." He was creating a verbal cue. A tiny little announcement that gave his brain a head start. That simple act of naming the surface primed his mind and body for the change, effectively closing that dangerous reaction time gap. He hasn't had a close call since. You can try this same thing. As you move from one room to another, just label the surface in your head, or even softly under your breath. Step down. Rug. Tile. That tiny reminder helps your brain and your body work together as a team to prepare for what's next. And let me add a few other crucial points related to this. Be extra cautious on shiny floors. They may look perfectly clean, but reflections and glare can play tricks on our eyes, making it much harder to judge depth and even hiding small, slippery spots. Also, if you wear bifocals, please take special care when you're stepping off curbs or going downstairs. The change in the lens as you look down can distort the floor beneath you, making a step seem closer or farther away than it actually is. Always take an extra second to make sure you're looking through the correct part of your lens. And finally, another simple trick is to just pause for 1 extra second when you move from a bright space, like a sunny room, into a dim hallway, or when stepping from bright sunlight into the shade outdoors. That brief pause allows your eyes and your pupils to adjust to the new level of light before you keep moving. It may not sound like much, but it can absolutely be the difference between a steady step and a dangerous stumble. By simply paying attention to the ground beneath you and giving your brain a moment to catch up, you protect yourself from so many unnecessary risks. And now, we've come to our final point, habit number 7. And I'll be honest, this is often the toughest one for people to accept, but it is one of the most critical. Habit number 7. Using support wisely. In my years of practice, I've seen two extremes. On one hand, I see people who have become so reliant on walls and furniture for balance that they essentially wall walk through their own homes. On the other hand, and far more often, I see people who staunchly resist using a cane or a walker because of what they believe it represents. This is a deeply emotional issue. Many people see a walking aid as a sign of weakness, a white flag of surrender to old age. This is one of the most dangerous and most heartbreaking misconceptions about aging. So I want to speak to you directly from my experience. The truth is this: tools like these don't take away your strength, they give you back your freedom. The freedom to be active. The freedom to move without fear. I understand the feeling behind the resistance. I truly do. For our entire lives, we pride ourselves on being capable, on being self-sufficient, on being independent. And the fear of being judged by others, of looking frail or old, can sometimes feel even greater than the fear of actually falling. It's a powerful emotion, and I respect it. But I want to challenge you today to reframe how you see these tools. A cane isn't about what you've lost. It's about what you stand to gain. It's the difference between staying home, stuck in a chair out of fear, and having the confidence to walk in the park on a beautiful day. It's the tool that allows you to safely go to the grocery store, to visit your friends, to attend your grandchild's school play. It allows you to stay engaged with the world you love. Using support wisely is about being smart and strategic. If you feel unsteady when getting out of bed, it's not weak to place a sturdy chair nearby to hold onto. It's intelligence. When you're outdoors, on uneven ground, a cane isn't a crutch. It's a safety net that gives you the confidence to keep moving. Please, hear me on this. Using support isn't giving up. It is a smart, strategic decision to protect the one thing that matters most: your independence. So, if you agree that your safety and your freedom are more important than anyone else's opinion, please take a moment to comment with the word independence below. It's a powerful declaration that you choose to live your life fully and safely. So, as we bring our time together to a close, I want you to think back to Robert, the 78-year-old gentleman I spoke about earlier. Remember how a single slippery spot in his own kitchen filled him with fear, and how that fear began to shrink his world. Today, Robert walks through that same kitchen with a new sense of confidence. He still quietly names the surface before he steps on it. Tile, he'll say to himself. He hasn't had a scare since. That one small, simple change that we talked about in habit number 6. It didn't just prevent a fall. It gave him back his peace of mind in his own home. It gave him back a piece of his independence. And that really brings us to the core message of our video today. Your safety and your independence. They aren't found in avoiding movement or staying still out of fear. They are found in how you choose to move through your life, consciously and with awareness. And the most wonderful part is that you are in complete control of that. These 7 habits we've covered, they are simple adjustments you can start practicing today, right where you are. And every time you choose to lift your head, to swing your arms, or to take a mindful step, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I am still in control of my movement, and I am not done walking forward. And so now, I have one last, very important question for you. What is the one small change you promised to make for yourself this week, after watching this? It could be as simple as, I will try to look straight ahead, or I will let my arms swing, or maybe, I will practice standing on one foot. Please, share that one commitment in the comments below. Writing it down makes it real. And reading each other's promises inspires all of us to take that first step. If you found real value and encouragement in our conversation today, giving this video, helps other people find this important information too. And to make sure you don't miss our next video, please hit that subscribe button. It's more than just a click. It's you joining a community of friends, all dedicated to living these golden years with health, with happiness, and with confidence. Finally, think of just one person, a friend, a family member, who might need to hear this message. Please, share it with them. You never know whose life you might touch. Thank you for spending this time with me. Stay safe, stay steady, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.